welcome to the class this Friday. We want to start immediately on topic number 2.4, which is on networking standards. On this topic, we are supposed to learn how network cable connection is performed as per networking standards. So it starts with the definition of standards. A network standard is a set of specifications, guidelines, or characteristics applied to network components to ensure interoperability and consistency between them. And you want such that the computers that are communicating using the same language. So it is important to note that a network standard is like a language in which the computer is used to communicate. So in our previous lessons, we have started with the connection or cable connection. Then we went ahead and discussed, we started with trunking, which is the protection of your cables terminating from point A to B. Then we went ahead and looked at the safety. We went ahead again and looked at the devices. And we also tested these devices. Now we are on standards that are used to communicate. Now we're moving from the physical network to now the computers and how they communicate. And it is important for us to note that this standard is what is making networks prevail or maybe standards. So network standard is that set of specifications or guidelines that allow the computer components to communicate efficiently. Now, in our lesson today, we are going to look at some few standards that are already established. The first standard is what is known as the HTTPS. I'm quite sure we have come across this before when we are browsing. This standard is one of the major standards that is used in communication. In definition, it is an application layer protocol used to transmit or used in transferring web pages from a web server to a web browser. So that communication that exists between a web browser and a web server is done using what is known as the HTTP. We use the S for secure, but the common standard is the HTTP. Hyper text hypertext, this is one word, hypertext transfer protocol. How do you know that this standard exists? It has some specific characteristics. One, it uses the communication ports known as port number 80. Some computers is known as 8080, but the basic one is communication port number 80. And if you there's the variation part of it, which is known as the secure HTTPS, which uses port number 433. encryption, another characteristic between which is used to distinguish this standard is what is known as the encryption. Encryption, in the HTTP, there is no encryption. The text is usually in plain, while if it is secure, that is HTTP with an S. Hypertext transfer protocol with an S, it is usually encrypted with what is known as the SSL, which is one of the protocols that we learn later, or the TSL encryption mechanism. When it comes to security, and that is also another feature or characteristics of this protocol, it is not secure. The HTTP is usually not secure, but the HTTP with an S is secure. Now, there is a specific way in which it works. Remember, it works only when there is a server on one side and a client who wants to access the service or the resource on the other side. So HTTP works in such a way that it allows communication between the client who uses the software known as the browser and the server who uses the web server or the database server or all these other forms of servers which we will learn later as we proceed, or any kind of resource that exists on the web that can be shared. Now, I'll start with describing the use. We use it on the websites. Generally, all websites use this protocol. And websites are information resources. I'm quite sure you've come across all forms of websites. For example, Facebook is one of them. The one that we're using here is Google Meet. It is a website. Gmail is a website. And all these are websites. I'm quite sure when I ask you a website, you're going to tell me one or two websites. For example, your portal, the college portal, is also a website. The college website is a website. And that is the protocol that is used to communicate on the internet to communicate this information resource. So, what happens, or what specifically happens during this process? Step number one, so we are looking at the functionality of this protocol, which is known as the HTTP, and the secure part which is known as the TVET. First, I as a client will access the browser and make what is known as a request. When I make a request, the landing page or the home page will load, which in this case is usually known as the index. Index those, for example, HTML. I'm giving an example, or .php. So the client will use the browser to make a request. A very good example of the request that we make every day is we make a request to Google. We make a request to ChatGPT. We make a request to one other request. Please follow you to Give me an example of my request to your email. Yes? Okay. Have you checked that site now? Or you have been on? So proceed. Now, the HTTP, the client will use the browser to make a request. And the landing page will be run, and this landing page will now take you to what is known as hyperlinks that will connect you to the resource that you want. Now, what the server will do is it will do what is known as response to your request. And then if the page is available, it will give you the page. If it is not there, it will load a default or an error page. It will load a default or an error page. So there are different methods of loading this page, and I think I showed you the notes. There is a get method of loading that page, the post method, the put, or the delete. So those are just examples of how this communication is done. It is a set standard. You use the get method, for example, to retrieve data from the server for loading the page. But you use a post method, that's a standard, to send messages to the server. And you use the put method, for example, to update the existing data, or uploading extra information, for example. And then you can delete the information that you want using the delete option. So these are just some examples of methods that are used for the communication, the standard that has already been set. For example, the standard is get, post, put, or delete. So this is just one of the communication methods that is used. So in the talking, the HTTPS is a standard that defines how web traffic should be formatted. That means if you want to communicate or using web communication, there is a standard that is HTTPS, and it defines how web traffic will be formatted and will be transmitted. So you as the network technician must ensure that the HTTP traffic can pass through the firewall. Now this is also another configuration. You will be managed by opening the port 80. So if you open your firewall and you see under the list of ports, the communication port 80 is closed, it means that you are not able to access the data resource. So that is one of the things that we are done. Any comment, please? I hope you're active with us, so we go together. Anything I can see your microphone is on. So we proceed. Now, the standard known as the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineering Standards, and there are several, but one of them is what is known as the 802.5 standard. There are several standards of this engineering committee established, and it is a group of engineers who sat down and saw that it's good for us to develop a standard for network architecture by bridging the communication between computers and analysis of data on the data link layer, that is the layer 2 of the OSI model, which I think you will share when we'll be discussing the OSI model later in this class for the data communication class. So what makes this standard unique? There are several standards, 802 different standards, and their functionalities. So I'll start with the first one. We have the 802 1B. So we have 802 1B. This is also known as the spanning tree protocol. And it is used to prevent network flows in redundant topologies. Remember, we have mesh topology, we discussed this in our class, mesh topology, which creates alternative methods of communication. So to prevent loops, network loops, you use the 802.1b, or what is known as spanning tree protocol. We also have 802.1q, which is also known as the VLAN ID, and it adds a VLAN ID tag to the Ethernet thread. We also have what is known as the 802.1x, which is the port-based network access control, which authorizes devices before granting network access. We also have 802.1w protocol standard, which is also known as the rapid spanning tree protocol, RSTP, which its functionality is to provide faster convergence than a more faster valuation of 802.1b. So this is just for us to know that when getting, there is a way in which you communicate, and you can use any of these to provide that. So I'll just discuss two of them, then we proceed with the lesson, and I think I'll send the notes so that you're able to see that. In 802.1b,
So the unit code is 0621351083A. Welcome, Bernardine. I'm redoing a summary so that we are able to catch up. The topic for today is topic 2.4, which is network cable connection, and we are discussing network standards. I started with the definition of a network standard, which I am going to redo it again. A network standard is a set of specifications, guidelines, or characteristics applied to network components to ensure interoperability and consistency between communication or between nodes in a network. So there are so many standards that exist. So, like I was saying, that the standards that we're discussing. We've just discussed 4 of them. The first one is HTTP, which is the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, a protocol or a standard that is used to transfer web pages from the server to the web browser. It uses what is known as the communication port 80, and if it is secure, it uses communication port 443. It has an encryption for HTTPS, but in an HTTP, it's a plain text. The HTTPS is secure, but while the HTTP is not. And the uses include the internal website or local websites, and HTTPS is used for secure and even financial or personal information or secure websites. Now, the procedure on how it works. A client makes a request through the browser to the server, and when it does that, the request is sent using the GET method, and in this GET method, our landing page, our home page will be loaded, which is known as the index or the home.html, for instance, or PHP, based on the browser or the page that you're loading. And if you use that, the server will make a response, and this response will contain the content or the request of what you have made. So the kind of methods that are used there include get to retrieve data, post to send data, put to update data, and delete to remove data. And that is one of the standards, the HTTP. We also have another one known as the IEE 8021. This is a group, in definition, IEEE is an Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineering. It's a standard that is used in architecture, in network architecture, in bridging and management, and it is used at the second layer of the OSI model, which is known as the data link layer. The importance. For technicians, we as people who will be dealing with networks, it is important to use this network because it is going to help us in 4 different levels. One, when it comes to the 8021D standard, which is also known as the spanning tree protocol standard, it prevents the network loops in redundant networks, especially mesh and all these other networks that usually have a loop. So the standard helps us to prevent network loops and avoid network crashing. We also have VLANs or virtual local area networks, tagging, and this standard is used in tagging Ethernet frames for a VLAN, for virtual local area network, which we will learn also later. We also have a standard known as X, that is usually allows us to it is port based. That means it opens and controls the network through a opening and closing of a communication ports. It authorizes devices before they are granted network access by opening or closing the ports. We also have the RSTP, which is also a rapid way of communication, but it's just an advanced method of D, 8021D. So, and so many others that we have seen from there. So, those are just about the standards that are there in that protocol. Now we go to the next protocol, which is known as the TCP/IP, which has 4 layers. One of them is application, transport, internet, and network access. The functionalities are the application layer is used to provide the user interface. The transport is used to end-to-end communication. The internet is used to route and addressing, and then network access is used for physical transmission of this data. And the protocols that are there are the ones that you are seeing from there. We have the HTTP, we have the TCP, we have the IP, ICMP, ARP, and all these functions that we will be seeing them, especially when it comes to the practical part of implementing these protocols, which will be in our next lesson. The TCP is also is one of the TCP/IP. So it has 2 protocols, the TCP and the IP. So the TCP is a connection oriented, and it is it establishes connection before sending data in form of a communication, that the sender, receiver, and the communication channel in between, a 3-way handshake. One of the characteristics is that it is very reliable. It acknowledges receiving data and retransmits data that has been lost during the transmission, whether through the signal cluttering or something related to that the signal did not reach the end. It also controls flow and congestion. It controls flow by adjusting the transmission rate based on the receiver capacity. So if the receiver is having a slower speed and then the other vice versa, it will always control the flow of data. User case, we also have web browsing. The web browsing, email and file transfer are the uses of the TCP. Now, how it works. On this other side is the client, on this other side is the server. There is a communication which happens, which allows the synchronization and acknowledgement of requests that has been made by the client, and the acknowledgement by the server that the record has been sent, and flow control, or all these characteristics that we've just described. So we have said it is used in email, on file transfer, and also on the web, which is information server. Information server. We also have the UDP, which is also another protocol, which is known as the user datagram protocol, which is characterized by connectionless or no handshake. So TCP has an handshake, but UDP does not have an handshake. Records is just sent immediately. There is no acknowledgement that is received, so it's therefore it's very unreliable. If data is lost during the process, now no connection is going to be. There is no resend of the records, and it is used in video streaming, like what we are doing right now. VoIP, or voice communication, which does not require recording or resend back, DNS requests, and gaming. So that is the UDP, the user datagram protocol. You also have the internet protocol, which is part of this protocol. It is characterized by addresses, which is IP4 is 32 bits, which is 4 bytes. And we have come across this because all our computers have this protocol. we have an address format. We have a standard. The standard itself is giving addresses with a specific format, and that is three numerical decimal numbers separated by a dot, or what we say host and network part of an address. We'll be learning that. So, and this protocol is used in addressing, and it is the most commonly used protocol when it comes to the internet. We'll be learning more, especially when we'll be using this in addressing, because each computer is going to be given an address. We also have the ICMP, which is also known as the Internet Control Message Protocol, which its functionality is to echo requests and replies. Especially it is used in testing connectivity. For example, it is used in ping. We also have destination and